Hello, I'm thrilled to be sharing with you my preparation for the Seder. It's really the highest night of the year, especially for me, but I think for everyone in the Jewish people. For me, I was actually born on that night, and the Jewish people was born on that night. It's an extraordinary opportunity, really, for all of us to join in the process of birth and rebirthing, which is really what that night is all about. So we're going to be having a few classes, which are actually going to begin this year, 5785, and continue through next year and the year after. So I'd like to share with you some of the opportunities that this night offers us, and also to attach to that meditations which you can do before Seder night, so that at the Seder you'll be able to simply recall what it was that you were experiencing when you were doing those meditations, and be able to access that experience on the night itself when, because of all the pandemonium that's likely to be at the table, you're not going to actually be able to stop and meditate during the Seder. Some of you might have that special opportunity, but most of us, with God's help, will be part of an event which will enable us to access those experiences and that kind of an heartfelt understanding, even though we won't be able to actually do it. But the intellectual understanding, which I pray to give across to you in these few episodes, will certainly be available to you. And those of you who get a hold of a copy of my commentary will have it there in front of them. So the first thing I want to share with you is how central this night is. And as I already mentioned, it's really a night of birthing. It's just like the experience of the weather outside right now. Here I am in Israel, sitting in my Beit Midrash, looking out the window at the blooming and blossoming of the land of Israel at this time of year. There's no question that there's an alignment. There they go. There's the birds outside. There's no question that there's an alignment of what's happening in our actual physical environment and what's going on inside of us. That clearly everyone gets spring fever this time of year. But what people don't realize is that the Torah is actually aligned with those inner and organic experiences in a way in which the Jewish people leaving the land of Egypt at that time is actually a reflection, or I would say, perhaps better say, an embodiment of what's going on in the physical environment, in the spiritual environment, and ultimately in the soul environment, as our soul becomes unfurled at this time of year. So I think this actually is the best background for us to get a sense of what it is that God is actually saying when, in the very first commandment at Har Sinai, he introduces himself as the one who took us out of Egypt. You know, the Rishonim, the early interpreters of the Bible, ask the obvious question: why is God introducing himself there at this grand moment as being the one who took us out of Egypt? It would have been more appropriate for him to really give his identity over as the one who created the universe. That's a far more impressive title for him to be introducing himself with. Well, I think the way to connect to what's happening there is through the very name which he uses. He doesn't say, I am God. He says, I am Hashem, your God. Hashem here, which I'm using the modest appellation for, is the word Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, which in Hebrew is actually a verb which says, the one who brings all into being, the one who is always bringing all into being. And this, of all of the holidays, is exactly what we say about this holiday of leaving Egypt and the process which we're going to be going through on the night of the Seder. Because on the night of the Seder, we're actually commanded to see ourselves as going out of Egypt, that it's something which is really available to all of us. And so when God introduces himself at Mount Sinai, and the first of the commandments, by saying, I am Hashem, I am Yud Ke Vav Ke, who took you out of Egypt, he's already telling us, I'm interested in being in relationship with those for whom this is an ongoing event, that they are themselves always coming out into greater realization and manifestation. That is, they're communing with me, and that's what I seek here. I don't seek to become your overarching Lord, which unfortunately is how Yud Ke Vav Ke is often translated as Lord, but rather I am looking to commune with those who are forever being brought into the realization, just like I am the one who is forever bringing into realization. So here's a beautiful opening for us to be able to align ourselves with. In leaving Egypt, we're actually leaving, the Hebrew word for Egypt is Mitzrayim, which means the narrow straits. We're leaving those narrow straits, but the more important image is we're going through the narrow birth channel through which we are being invited into a new level of the realization of who we are, a new level of the manifestation of the fullness of our being, a new level of our being born into another level of recognition of the nature of being itself, of the nature of life, and living that life in a greater and greater fullness. And here's the beautiful thing. This is a never-ending process. It goes from generation to generation. And so the Seder is so much about us telling the story to the next generation, because this is something which, even as we regenerate ourselves, we're also the embodiment for our children of the regeneration that they will be bringing themselves through. And the very fact that we have brought new generations into life, that's the real frame for the Seder being a context in which we're teaching each other. We're looking for more people aware of this, because in their awareness, they bring more into awareness, more into manifestation, more into realization. It's not something that one human being can do. It's not something that one generation can do. It's not something that one moment can do. And so let's get in touch with that first, before we begin telling the story, before we actually enter into the Haggadah, that God is actually inviting us in to this process of forever opening, forever expanding, forever being more and born greater and more alive, more loving, more connected, more in touch with the infinite God who is forever moving us forward. So the meditation will align us with that. And I'll give you some information right now about how that meditation can serve you on that night. Because what we'll do at the end of the meditation is something of an anchoring. I'll just ask you to press your fingers like this, so that when Seder night comes, before you begin, you'll just be able to do that and reconnect with the experience which, with God's help, we'll be experiencing together in the meditation coming up straight away. So welcome to this journey, which is the journey of the Haggadah and the Seder night. In this meditation in preparation for the Seder night, we'll be awakening the connection that we have with Hashem, the one who is forever bringing into being. As we ourselves begin to participate through this meditation in the everlasting, ever-growing aspiration which derives from our being in Hashem's image as creative beings. So let's just begin now with a relaxation as we allow ourselves to get in touch with deeper levels of our selfhood. As we let go of the exterior ways in which we interact with the world. Take a deep breath. Hold the breath inside. Slowly release through pursed lips. Take another nice deep breath through your nose. And begin to slowly release again. Return to normal breathing, paying attention to the movement in and out of the air that you breathe. Shifting your attention to your stomach as it rises and falls. Releasing tension in your shoulders. Letting that calm extend down through your back. All the way through your thighs, calves, down to your feet. As you notice their simple contact on the floor. Let your toes relax. And parallel to that, your fingers relax. Your jaw relax. Your tongue rests on the bottom of your mouth. Your eyes relax. And a beautiful space open between your eyes and eyebrows. Allow yourself to experience a calling which is beginning to appear from above through a beautiful ray of white light that shines down towards you onto your face. Tilt your head upwards to receive it. Sense a beautiful flow of warmth and care coming towards you, shining on your face and entering inside, filtering down towards your heart as your heart awakens with desire for the connection with you. Now sends you this glorious light of love, compassion, and care. Let it fill through your heart, your entire body. This light is the invitation to your greatness, to your expansion beyond the confines of who you have been up until now. This light is the message from the infinite Creator who infinitely creates, inviting you to become even more expansive, more loving, more enlightened. Allow yourself to experience an expansion of your consciousness simply by sensing space around you and then sending your consciousness even beyond that, upwards and around, farther and farther, as you remain merged with it. Indeed, you are one with this infinite expanse, Sense yourself rising and expanding. Your heart opening. Your being growing. And now know you are invited to choose something you desire to grow in through this expansiveness, to become even more loving, to become even more sensitive to the needs of others, to become even more wise and enlightened. Choose one of these, or describe to yourself another. Shift in the nature of who and how you are. Growing more loving, more compassionate, more sensitive. I invite you to see yourself in a circumstance when you, as an even more loving or compassionate human being, by virtue of what you've become, you act in a way reflective of this expanded, heightened self. It's grown beyond the confines of what you have been. Let the aspiration guide you to a vision of how you will be there. Sense how Hashem's light is assisting you with appreciation for you as you are now becoming. Appreciate the goodness of this opportunity. Saying thank you to Shem Havaya, to the one whose name is forever bringing into being. It's taking you out of an Egypt now, a Mitzrayim of a confine that expanding beyond. The energies of your infinite soul, communing with the infinite one. And now begin to return to the simple, undefined sense of expansive awareness. yourself expanding to the heavens beyond and all around. And you may begin to invite that presence back towards you, reabsorbing this vastness of who you are back into the specific body which is here and now. As it becomes enlightened with the touch of this infinite growth, which comes from the light of the Infinite One. Notice how your heart feels. Notice how your body feels. Notice how your mind feels. We are those who forever leave the narrow straits. We are those when aligned with our souls in every generation, in every moment, are invited to grow by the one who is growth. Take a moment to hold your thumb to two fingers, and in that sensation, anchor what you've experienced, so that before the Seder begins, or perhaps when you say the words, "In every generation, one is to see oneself as leaving Egypt," you'll put your thumb to the fingers and recall the sensations you experience now. And bring yourself back to the sense of your breath coming in and out. And the weight of the body on the chair. And commit yourself to live this vision in at least one situation today.